What up, Talking Fight fans? Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Friday Night Panel with yours truly, Mike Orr, my man Lou Eisen, and our special guest today, all the way from the UK, Last Bell Boxing's Carl. Carl, thanks for joining us today.
No
Guys,
problem.
we're finally back. Friday Night Panel, new year, new things going on, big things to come in this year. And one of them is going to be this fight tomorrow. Jonas Mayer. Thoughts, guys? Let's talk about this one. Carl, care to go first?
So I'm happy to jump in. I've paid close attention to this fight because it's had a big billing over in the UK. I'm going to jump straight in and give my predictions. I think Natasha Jonas will be too big. Yeah. I don't think Mayer actually holds that much power. She didn't hold any power down at the lower weight, so what makes you think she can have any power stepping up? And although they both had very esteemed amateur careers, I just think Natasha Jonas' style suits better to the pro game. So I'm gonna go for Natasha Jonas to win on points.
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, so was I. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, because I think Carl brought up a great point. She is going up in weight. And when you look at boxing history, right, Carl, like Arturo Gatti would lose, then go up in weight, which was the wrong thing to do. And so she thinks because she's losing, well, I only lost because of my weight class. No, you lost. You got beat by a better fighter. So she's going up in weight. And I just don't think that's the answer to her problems. And she's going up against a person who's got as deep, if not a deeper amateur pedigree, who's extremely skilled. But more than that, she's incredibly patient and she can't be ruffled. So Michaela Meyer's history or, her whatever her image is, she's not going to be intimidated at all.
Yeah, the only question mark in the UK, Lewis, is Natasha Jonas going to get old overnight? Because you could argue May is the fresher of the two fighters. So there's that little bit of a concern that, she doesn't get any younger. And we all know fighters can get old overnight, right? So that's the only little bit of a question mark.
That's true. But as you said earlier, Meyer has no punch. She's not going to be able to hurt her. So, if she could just maintain her stamina but like you said, she could get old overnight. But if she can maintain the stamina and box a smart fight, which is the hallmark of her career, then she shouldn't really have a problem with Michaela Meyer.
And also, Jonas has got a lot of money to make. She should have the bit between the teeth. She hasn't made a lot. She hasn't made life-defining money as of yet. But then fights are out there if she keeps winning. So I expect to motivate Natasha Jonas to go into the ring.
Mm-hmm. I expect to see a very fresh Jonas to come in and really bring it. Honestly, I was not impressed with Mayer's fight against Lucy Wildheart. Last minute call up, and she took her the distance. We're talking about a woman here who is supposed to be of the upper echelon of the division. Top pedigree, top tier amateur, and all this kind of stuff. And you have a relatively no-named girl out of Sweden, Lucy Wildheart. Big fan of her. Not going to lie, she did do really good.
I'm not sure about the no name, Mike. I'm not sure about the no name.
I don't mean no name. She's known, but she's not a household name yet.
She's not an elite level, considered an elite level fighter. And this is when someone like, for instance, Arturo Gatti, who I love, but later in his career when he was losing to guys that weren't top 20 rated, that's when people were saying to him, it's time. It's enough. And Myers, Michaela Myers, struggled in that fight. So she shouldn't struggle. And, sometimes I said to Angelo Dundee once, what if sometimes they don't have it? He said, everyone hates going to work, but you get paid to do your job, and you got to do your job if you're a boxer. Win the fight.
I do like this fight in one way, though, Lou, because it's a crossroads fight, isn't it? The loser, where do they go?
Right.
There's a lot on the line, right?
Big time.
That's right. When you said that, I was thinking the upcoming fight between Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou, and on March 8th, which is one of the most hallowed dates in boxing history because of Ali Frazier in 1971 at the Mecca of Boxing. This is at the real Mecca in Saudi Arabia. And I wrote a thing the other day for, I don't know what, Boxing Social or whatever it was, but that with Joshua, he's damned either way. If he knocks him out, he's just doing what is expected of him. If he doesn't win, then his critics will jump on his back and write him off again.
Yeah. Lou, I was at the press conference on Monday, so I'm probably well qualified to talk about this.
Definitely, let's hear about it.
One thing I would say, as a spectacle, the press conference was the biggest that I've been to, and I've been to my fair share. There was Saudi Arabian teams over there filming it. It was just an absolute massive event. The Saudi Arabians are not playing at this game, are they? Let's be honest. No. They're here to take over. Anyway, coming to the fight, it's obviously Anthony Joshua attempting his one-upmanship on Tyson Fury. He jumps in with Wallen, bombs Wallen out. Now he's going to jump in with Ngannou. Hopefully, for the sake of boxing, he blasts Ngannou out, because if he doesn't blast Ngannou out, boxing's got a problem.
Yeah,
because you can't be having an MMA fighter coming over and hanging with the so-called elite of our current era, because it's just not a good look. Because let's reverse it. If Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury got into the octagon, it'd be over in seconds, right? So it's not a great look. So I'm hoping, for boxing's sake, that Anthony Joshua jumps in and takes care of Ngannou. But when you see them in the flesh, Ngannou is an absolute monster.
Yeah.
So
I believe he is now the hardest recorded hitting guy in combat sports. Apparently.
I'm not sure about all the hype, Mike, because I still don't think he bangs it harder than Wilder, in my honest opinion. And I wouldn't be too quick to write Wilder off. I've heard Graham talk about this, that, and the other, and this, that, and that's going to happen. He shouldn't be in the ring again. I'm not so sure. I think Deontay Wilder's a bit in between styles at the minute. I think he needs to go and find himself. I know he's been some retreat or something I've been reading. I wouldn't write Deontay Wilder off just yet, would be my honest opinion.
Well, I mean, any man who can punch like that, yes, because a punch is always the last thing to go. But I wouldn't put my money on him again in any other fight. But it's hard to judge a guy off of just one fight. But I just don't think I don't think there's anyone out. Who's Wilder going to fight? He's not going to fight Andy Ruiz, right? He's not going to fight Big Baby, the other Big Baby, not Miller, but
Anderson.
Rod Anderson.
Anderson. His team's keeping him on a track. He's not going to be fighting those guys just yet.
You know my thoughts on Anderson. Mike.
I know. You think he's overrated. You think he's overrated. You think they're giving him hype. He has shown some great.
I've said that
he has shown some great things. He has shown that he can perform. He can knock people out. He can show that he can transfer over and go the distance if he needs to.
Against guys like Charles Martin, who was a shot fighter. But as to what Carl said, I've been saying all along that Anderson was overrated. But then again, everybody I speak to in the States, of course, we know how Americans are. Our fighter, it only counts when our fighter wins. If a Canadian or Brit or someone else wins, it doesn't count. So, but Anderson, they've all said to me, he's still a young kid. He's still learning. He knows he has to learn. He knows he's not ready for the elite. Yeah, but I don't think Wilder's up there anymore with the elite. I just don't think he is. I didn't think he was during Tyson Fury and during his run. I just wasn't super.
I don't necessarily agree there, Lou, because I don't know anybody who would do. You've got to remember, Tyson Fury had a right battle on in all three fights. He put Tyson down a couple of times.
Yeah.
I think his boxing skills are underrated. People in the UK, I remember when I talk about his boxing skills. Look, the guy went to the Olympics, right? Do you remember?
Bronze medalist. He's known as a bronze medalist, so he has to have some sort of skill.
Do Americans put anybody into the Olympic squad now? Then
Yeah.
No, they don't. So I'm just not sure I'm writing him off yet, Lou. Has he got? It's all about motivation, and forgive me, I'm not a boxing historian, but I know one was it Agler or Earns who come out and said it's very difficult to get motivated when you're running in silk pajamas, something the words to that effect.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
has he lost his motivation? Possibly. Can he get that motivation back? I don't know, because he's earned a lot of money, right?
Yeah, that's another thing.
It's hard to get your motivation back though, Carl. When you have all that money he has, he's got a daughter who's doing better, thankfully, but is sick, and he doesn't really need it anymore.
Do you know what might get it back though, Lou? Being written off.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that pisses a fighter off, as you well know, Carl. And no one likes being written off. And Ali was written off.
And let's have it right, Lou. Let's have it right. You know, Jody Parker's a good example. He gets beat by Joe Joyce. People are saying his career's over. He has a couple of victories, and all of a sudden he's picking up massive fights again. Yeah. So, you know, you're only ever 2 or 3 fights away from being near the top of the tree again.
And didn't he have a broken orbital bone or jaw? And I couldn't believe that Saunders made fun of him and then suffers the same injury against Canelo.
Yeah.
You know, so this is the thing. When I'd be at the Hall of Fame in Canastota, Angelo would speak to writers who he liked, but they would say, well, you know, Ortiz shouldn't have quit when he had his jaw broken, the welterweight who fought Mayweather, and he was fighting another fighter, and he got his jaw broken and he quit. And they said they shouldn't, you know, they called him a pussy. They called him all sorts of names. And Angelo just looked at the writer and said, "You've been in the ring?"
Exactly.
No. Could you, I'll tell you what, you come in the ring here at the Hall of Fame, take your shoes off, and let's see if you can just dance around for 3 minutes. And the guy couldn't make 60 seconds. And Angelo said, imagine trying to do that with someone trying to cave your head in.
Yeah.
Who knows what they're doing. So it's you know, obviously not an easy thing. I agree a bit with Lennox Lewis that, you know,
that great British fighter, Lou. Yep, Lennox Lewis.
Canadian, but yes.
Here we go.
Let me debate like I have time and time again on this channel. I'll ask you one. No, let me finish, Lou.
Yes, sir.
So, where was Lennox Lewis born?
He was born in Britain.
Yeah, London, West Ham in London. Yes, he was.
Yeah, and can I ask you?
Where's London?
That's in England.
In Canada. It's actually in Ontario. You can drive there. You can actually drive there in about 2.5 hours. Actually.
And you know, I know what you're going to throw at me about the medal around his neck and all this, but you know when he won the world title, what was the flag that was put up behind him?
Oh, that was the British flag. But on TV, he said, "I'm a Canadian."
No. I need to jump in again.
Yes,
it's an unwinnable argument at this point.
I've actually got an audio clip. I've got an audio clip.
You have to show me the same respect.
Go on.
Right? I'm just giving you my point. I worked for Lennox. So I've seen his Canadian citizenship. There's no doubt he was born in Britain. I'm not debating that. Yes, he won the world medal for Canada. He was living in Canada at the time.
Yes.
The Olympic gold. But when he won all the world heavyweight titles, there was only one flag, and that was the Union Jack in every fight. And one of the reasons for that
is because Canada doesn't have a great transition from amateur to pro. We literally take our amateurs and just, here you go, out into the world on your own.
And I'm sure, as you know, and Carl, as you well know, a guy like Lennox coming off a gold medal in Canada, and Stephen Brunt, one of the best writers this country's produced, said, yeah, he could have stayed in Canada and made $100 a fight.
Yeah.
And Canadian promoters telling him, well, you know, you're lucky to get that. But Lennox was smart. Britain's where boxing was born. And that's where the big money was. And he could have gone to the States, but then, you know, you're dealing right then with organized crime. And you have to do what they say. And he wanted to be in control. So the smart move was to go to Britain. You know, and as you said, he is British. That's where he was born. But he does have citizenship.
For me, Lou is the greatest heavyweight of all time.
I would agree.
Me too.
I don't think there's any doubt. He was undisputed. He beat Holyfield twice, and they ripped him off. I love the press conference beforehand for the Tyson fight, Carl, when they asked what would happen, and he said, Lennox said, I'm 6'5", 259, and I'm in shape. He's maybe 5'10", 212 pounds.
Lou, is it true? Is it true? Sorry, George. Is it true that Lennox Lewis used to beat Tyson up in sparring as well?
They had 4 matches up in the Catskills. Lennox wasn't ready for Tyson the first time, and Tyson roughed him up. Next 3 times, Tyson left the ring because of Arnie Beam, who trained him in Kitchener. Lennox was ready, came right out, and just said, I'm going to take it to him. And he said, in the amateurs, 3 times, I beat the crap out of him.
Yeah.
You know, I chased him out of the ring. And he said, the only reason he rushed me at the press conference and bit my leg, and he said, there's only one reason, and it's a 4-letter word, and it's fear. He knows he has no chance. He's doing it for the money. Yeah. He said, it's not even in the realm of possibility. And when he fought Klitschko, and I said to him this later, I said, I really thought you were cheated. He said, but I won the fight. I said, no. If it had gone 10 more seconds, Klitschko would have left the arena in a body bag. One more round. And this is the main complaint I had at the Hall of Fame when I got into an argument the year Lennox was inducted. And when I was saying to people, well, you know, he was cut, you know, or excuse me, Lennox didn't look that good. Yeah, but it was stopped on a cut. Yeah, but it was just a cut. So if it's a British fighter, cuts don't count. But if it's an American fighter, cuts count.
Yeah.
He beat the shit out of him. Sorry for my language. It's as simple as that. It's not how fights start, as Carl knows. It's how they end. And in the end, you can't compare anyone to him. And Carl, you've heard of Al Bernstein? Right? In his book, he said, Lennox Lewis is the best heavyweight fighter of the past 175 years.
Yeah, when I talk about this with older generations in the UK, they always throw like Muhammad Ali at me. Lewis would have been too big and too skillful for Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, and
just look at them. Look at the sheer size. Look at the the built, the physique, right?
Ali handled Ernie Terrell easily. He was 6'6", but Terrell is in no way Lennox Lewis. People talk about Tyson Fury being such a skilled artist. Lennox Lewis was a skilled technician. And when I asked him, you know, recently, do you watch boxing still? He said, other than broadcast, I don't, because I'm not really interested in guys standing toe-to-toe, squaring up and just slugging it. I want to see someone who knows what they're doing, the technical skill of using their jabs, setting their punches up. I was with him when Deontay Wilder came to the office in Toronto, and he showed him, Wilder didn't know what he meant. He said, there's a way to hide your right hand. There's a way to throw the jab, and they can't see the right hand. Lennox knew all this. He picked everything up. He was so smart. You'd watch a fight with him. I mean, I know I'm preaching to the converted, but you watch a fight with him, and he would say, if that guy doesn't get his right hand up, this fight's going to end in about a minute. And a minute later, guy was gone.
Yeah, you know? Lewis was special. He was special.
Yeah, and we'll never see anyone like him again.
Yeah. So, Lou, coming on to the Saudi Arabian current situation, where do you think that leaves North American boxing and United and UK boxing in terms of pay-per-view fights?
Well, because modern boxing was born in the UK, and because it still has the greatest fan base on earth, we can't lose pay-per-view boxing or major fights on streaming in the UK. That would be detrimental to the sport.
I think we will.
That would honestly with the headway that Saudi Arabia is making now, it's a possibility, big time, that they could take over as the big guys here for those big fights, because they got the unlimited funds to pay. Well,
look at the press conference on Monday. Sorry, Mark. Look at the announcements at the press conference on Monday. You got Turkey Al-Sheikh there saying, okay, I'm going to have Eddie Hearn versus Frank Warren, 5 fighters from each stable. That would never have happened under any other era. You couldn't even get them two in the same room, never mind having photos took holding hands.
Right.
And then he puts up on the screen about the heavyweight undisputed belt that he's going to have commissioned, for whoever wins out of AJ and Garner and Fury and Usyk. So that's another game changer. And then he goes on to say, Bivol versus Beterbiev is all but signed.
Right.
So
I think the knowledge, though, resides in Britain. Let me ask you something, Carl. Let's say Usyk beats Fury, which I think he will. Is anyone going to want to see a Joshua Fury or Usyk a third fight?
no.
No, I don't think so.
No.
And I think that's why, in secret, Lou, they might not admit it, but they're praying that Tyson Fury beats Usyk, and I actually think he will. I think the worst thing that could have happened for Usyk was that awful performance by Fury against Ngannou, because Fury will not perform like that again. I think that will give him the motivation. I think he went into that Ngannou fight feeling like he just had to turn up on the night and he was going to knock Ngannou out.
I think I agree, but I think he looked out of shape and off balance. The knockdown, I think, was the result because his legs were tangled, and I don't think he took it seriously. But I still think Usyk can beat him because Usyk's a better technical boxer, and I've always believed that when the skill is equal, it's whoever can impose his will on the other man. I don't think the skill is equal.
Lou, I just think Tyson Fury's too big. I think he's just too big. How is Usyk going to get around that reach?
Yeah, I think he did, but he did so with Anthony Joshua.
With all due respect, when you're talking about boxing ability between Anthony Joshua and an informed Tyson Fury and motivated, it's like talking about night and day, isn't it, Lou?
Big time.
Yeah.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, motivation is why as you said, a lot of it's hard, right? The intangibles. That's why a great guy can go in and just learn that his wife is leaving him. One of his kids wasn't his own. His manager was stealing from him, and he loses to a fighter who's not as good as him. No heart, no motivation.
A lot of factors. There are a lot of factors that can play, but I do think Tyson Fury might just be too big. He's got that extra couple of inches, and he's a little more elusive. You know, he can move a little better. You know, and we all seen Fury on those ropes, man. When he's leaning on those ropes, he's hard to touch. And
yeah, but Fury needs room to punch.
Yes.
And I'm telling you right now, I think Usyk's going to pitch a shutout and win by decision. I don't think he can hurt him, but I think
I actually think me and you are at different ends of the scale here, then, Lou, because I actually think Fury's going to absolutely dominate Usyk. I think he's just going to be too big and have too much boxing ability. Well, I think,
This is what I don't understand. One thing I don't understand. This has gone on for over 300 years. For some reason, I'm not including Tyson Fury in this, but for some reason, it's always amazed me that people, when you read about it in magazines, equate height with talent, right? Primo Carnero was 6'7", but he had no talent. Same with Jess Willard, you know, and there have been other guys. David Price was a tall guy, and he could have been better, but he wasn't. Tall guys usually don't have good balance. Fury's unusual in that he's a skilled fighter, but I don't think he's as skilled as he was when he was younger, and I don't think he's as skilled as Usyk. But you know, he may come out in the first round and end it and settle all matters. I don't think Usyk can hurt him under any circumstances. I think the only thing Usyk can do is outpoint him and get out of the way.
I think it'll be the Kronk Gym style, Lou. No, is seek and destroy.
Yeah.
So I think Tyson Fury will seek and destroy.
But that's only. Sorry.
Go on. No, go on after you.
Well, I was just going to say, Carl, that Tyson in his last several fights likes to square up. Usyk's not going to square up against him. He's going to make Fury try to fight his fight. Fury's got one belt. Usyk's got all the belts. If Fury comes forward, same way Joshua did, he'll just. I don't think there'll be a problem.
I think you're comparing apple and pears when you talk about Fury doing anything similar to Joshua. I just think his level's above, right?
I think it all comes down to if Fury is motivated enough, you know.
And I think if he isn't motivated for this fight, then he needs to get out of boxing.
Yeah.
That's the truth of it.
Because like we know he hasn't been in the greatest headspace in the last
What I would say is we're not seeing any silly social media posts at the minute, are we? From him, it's very radio silent, which suggests to me he's got his head down and he's just
which makes for a scary Tyson Fury is what happens with
but
that.
I've also seen other instances with Ali at the end of his career where there was total media silence, and that's because things weren't going well. The person wasn't in the shape that he wanted everyone to believe he was in. But I don't know, because I don't know what's going on. But he seems in a good frame of mind in those 15, 20-second posts he has. I know that you're right about Joshua. Fury's levels above that in talent. And Joshua, I don't know, Carl, would you agree that his last 3-4 fights, even the ones he's won, he just seems hesitant before every punch and in every round?
I did like his last performance, Lou, and that's under Ben Davison, because he was a lot more aggressive. And obviously, I'm from Nottingham in the UK. Lee Wood is from Nottingham, who's also trained by Ben Davison. And he transformed Lee's boxing style from the Ingle gym. So time will tell, because he had it all his own way, didn't he, against Wallin? I was very disappointed with Wallin. So I don't think we know where Joshua is at all, to be honest.
No.
Yeah. Davison is one of the top trainers, if not the top trainer.
Well, Devin is involved with Devin Haney doing all the statistical bit and analysis. Devin Haney doesn't bring any smoke, to use a North American term, into camp, does he? He must be adding some value. The jury's still out for me on Anthony Joshua, to be honest with you, because
me too. I think he's lost the edge. He's lost that fierceness, that ferociousness, that that fire that you need to be the man. And I don't think he has it right now. And I think he's lost it, and he's having trouble finding it. And you can only give a guy so many step fights to help him. And it's only a matter of time before you got to start putting this guy back in front of real competition.
Well, Otto Wallin,
and if he's not there mentally.
Yeah, but Otto Wallin was considered real competition, although he didn't put up a fight. He just stood there like a punching bag.
He might have been good competition a couple of years ago, but I don't think he's not the same fighter as he was a couple of years ago.
I'd like to see AJ. He weren't happy, but I'd like to see AJ jumping with Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois got the bit between his teeth at the minute. An active fighter who's going to come to take your head off. Then let's see what AJ's got about him.
Yeah, I think that would be a great matchup to see exactly where AJ is at his point in his career, and what he has to do, if he's got to go back to the drawing board or what. But
the only thing that upset me about the Miller fight was the fact that Miller was even given a license, and the fact I know I was told this by William Detloff once, that the writer, that if you took everyone who had a criminal association or had a criminal charge or conviction out of boxing, there'd be no one in the Hall of Fame. But still, Miller didn't belong. I mean, he was fat. He was over. And listen, Dubois fought a great fight. He fought a smart fight. He took Miller's best shot. He laughed at him, and he took him out when he had him hurt and ready to take out. But I think going back to the States and Miller getting arrested for trying to strangle somebody, that's the real Miller. And I agree with you, Carl, that Dubois is the guy to watch. He's got tremendous skill and heart. And
he's got vulnerability, though. Don't get me wrong. He's got vulnerability. He fought a cruiserweight at Tottenham Hotspur last December, and he looked dreadful. Looked absolutely dreadful. But,
he did.
He's got that vulnerability, but he can also bang, and he's mobile, and he's a big lump. So that's quite a dangerous combination, right?
Fast hands, great feet, and as you were saying, during the fight with Miller, his attitude was, you'll have to kill me to beat me, because if you're not willing to give your life, then you're not going to win. And I don't see anyone out there beating him. I can't, it'd be interesting to see now him have a rematch of Joe Joyce after Joyce's 2 losses against Zhang.
Very interesting.
And Zhang's fighting Parker coming up.
Now that is an interesting fight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Looking forward to that one. I really am looking forward to that one.
I think Joseph Parker's on an upward trajectory into, he seems to be performing better and better. Andy Lee's trainer, I really rate Andy Lee. He's a very good fighter in his time as well.
I loved Andy Lee. I loved Andy Lee. And I loved him when he knocked out, is it Matt Korobov or?
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised he got beat by Billy Joe, if I'm honest with you, because that was a very young Billy Joe that jumped in and beat him. But I think as a trainer, he's very good. He's very calm in the corner. I like the way he communicates, and he's getting the best out of Joe Parker.
And he's a wonderful person. And
very nice, yeah.
I love him. I love him to death. And I love when he knocked out Julian Jackson's son. Just when Julian Jackson's son had that smirk when he dropped Lee for the first time. And I remember sitting there thinking, are you out of your mind? You caught him with a lucky punch. And he walked right in with the chin exposed, and that was it. And when he won the title, I was so happy for him. Andy Lee is an underrated fighter. He was one of the great fighters, I believe, and one of the great trainers.
Yeah. And quite interesting that Billy Joe's coming back, Lou, right? He's going to come back at light heavyweight. I think boxing's a better place for having Billy Joe in it. I agree. I'm not sure how much he's got left, but I get ridiculed in the UK for saying that this is a big statement, but I'm going to say it. When Bivol beat Canelo, I do believe he took some of that blueprint from Billy Joe's performance in them early rounds against Canelo, because Billy Joe was having a lot of success against Canelo.
Yeah.
And I get ridiculed for that opinion, but I stand by it,
He got caught. That happens. Right? It only takes one mistake, as you well know.
Especially on the bone that he got caught on, right? Because you ain't recovering from that.
Right, but as you're saying, what you said is true. He set the blueprint on how to beat Canelo. Yeah. He just got caught with a good shot and couldn't follow through on it. Bivol saw the fight, obviously, and thought, that's how you do it. I'm the bigger man. I'll fight that way. I'm just not going to engage up close with him.
Yeah.
And we saw Canelo get upset. We saw him lift Bivol up and rough him up and shove him, and he gets frustrated. Yeah. And that's not supposed to happen to an elite level fighter. I'm glad Billy Joe Saunders is coming back. I know when he fought David Lemieux here, and there were a lot of people saying
David the old.
And there were a lot of people saying, well, Lemieux will beat him easily. And I was saying to people online, if you think Lemieux will beat him easily, then either you've never seen Billy Joe Saunders, or you're a fan of water polo, because you know nothing about boxing.
Yeah. I worry about his motivation, though, Lou, because an undermotivated Billy Joe is nowhere near the level of a motivated Billy Joe. I just worry he needs getting big fights. There's only I think Eubank Jr. is possibly a fight. Yeah. They've got some unfinished business.
Yeah.
But the super middleweight's not great at the minute, is it?
No.
Compared to years gone by.
Yeah, and I've always, because I was a stand-up comic for years, and stand-up comedy, which was also invented in Britain, but I've seen great comics and go on and have a so-so show. It just wasn't there that night. The audience wasn't there. They just didn't have it in them. And fighters will do that sometimes, as Carl's saying. If they have the proper motivation, if Billy Joe's in a big fight and he knows there's millions of people watching, then he's going to say, okay, I'm going to give you something you'll never forget. I'm going to raise the bar to such a high level, no one can touch me.
It's just in a very poor era, super middleweights. I mean, when you look at years gone by with Froch, Kessler, Steve Collins, I know I'm going very European-centric here, Lou, but Ben, Eubank, I mean, when Jeff Lacey came over to the UK supposedly to give our boy a spanking in Calzaghe,
Calzaghe was the best super middleweight that ever lived.
But I mean, I'm a bit of a bias towards Carl Froch. I do wonder if Carl Froch would have cut the ring off and caught him, because Joe Calzaghe didn't carry much power. Well, he slapped a little bit, didn't he?
But he beat the hell out of Roy Jones Jr. every round.
He got Roy at a nice time, though, didn't he?
I mean, he played with him. He could have taken him out any time, I think.
What about Hopkins, though? That was a close fight. Hopkins.
Yeah.
Some people think Hopkins might have actually won that fight.
I don't. Cal Zaggy's an all-time great. I like Carl Frosch a lot. And Frosch, when he beat Boutte, I mean, that was a great fight. And wow. And that was a one-sided beatdown. You couldn't give Boutte 10 seconds of any round.
That was interesting, wasn't it? Because it was the first time Boutte had fought abroad, wasn't it? You know, and he walked into Nottingham Arena and it was an absolute cauldron because Froch had let everybody know locally that if he didn't win that fight, he was actually going to retire. So that got the fans even more buoyant. So that was an absolute red hot atmosphere that night.
Yeah, you know what I couldn't believe about Carl Frosch at the Hall of Fame, where I met most of these guys, was that he said he often lacked for confidence. And I thought, how could a person of your talent, you know, I mean, you're bringing to your most potent weapon. How can a guy of your talent level?
Yeah, Rob McCracken has gone on record as saying that Carl really struggled in the dressing room before fights. It took him a long time to calm them nerves down. But you listen to Carl Frosch and he said he needed that little bit of edge. He needed that nervous energy a little bit to get him switched on. So interesting, isn't it? Very interesting.
And when he beat the guy who robbed Hopkins, I can't remember the name now. I should. Gets in trouble with the law all the time. Black fighter who beat Hopkins for the middleweight title. I was going to say Jamal, not Jamal. I can see his face. Arthur Abraham knocked him out too. The guy who won the middleweight title. And
was that over in America when he knocked him out with about 10 seconds to go?
Yes.
Jermaine Taylor.
Yeah, and you could see during the fight that I didn't know where Taylor thought it was going to be an easy fight, and then 3 or 4 rounds in, he thought, I'm in trouble. And then Taylor started just that fight for survival.
Yeah, he fought Taylor twice back to back, right?
Yeah, and Taylor had that look like, you know, Frosch had the look. Excuse me, that
he didn't fight Taylor back to back, did he? Did he, Mike? He didn't fight him back to back. He fought him once in America.
Yeah.
He fought Jermaine Taylor fought Hopkins in what, 05?
Yeah, no, I'm all about Froch. Sorry, I'm all about Froch.
Oh,
Jermaine Taylor versus Froch. That was only once in America.
Yeah, that was the one time. Sorry.
And you know, here's an interesting thing at the Hall of Fame when it's a bit dicey because they let people in the audience who are from all over the world, but mostly from the States, ask questions. And you really think how can you're in the Hall of Fame and did you beat this guy and you wouldn't have beaten this guy and you wouldn't have beaten that guy? And Joe Calzaghe said, who are you? And he said, I'm nobody. He goes, you're right. And I thought that was such a great response because the guy wasn't nobody. You can only beat who's around in your time.
Of course.
And Calzaghe beat everyone.
Yeah.
You know,
in terms of Carl Froch's career, the only performance that disappointed me was Andre Ward.
Yeah.
I don't think Froch could work him out. I just think Andre Ward was Carl Froch's kryptonite, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean he's a tough guy to fight.
Yeah.
But I loved when the Lacey fight with Calzaghe because he ended Lacey's career. And you had to think as a boxing fan, if you know your stuff, how can anyone possibly think Lacey had a chance?
Well, the Americans didn't they? I was reading that he was coming over to spank Calzaghe, wasn't he? That's what the American media was saying.
But
that's always the Americans' opinion as they're coming over.
There's likening him to Mike Tyson at one stage, and you know, I was like, okay, let's see what happens when he lands in Wales.
There's only one Mike Tyson.
That's right, but Carl, wouldn't you agree? I mean, that Lacey, I don't think Lacey was good enough to be a sparring partner for Calzaghe.
Well, I wonder where he got the hype from, Lou, to get into the ring with Calzaghe. You know, he must have won some fights somewhere. I'm not a great expert on his career because the only time I've watched him against Calzaghe, I wasn't over impressed. So it baffles me how he even got the rankings to get the title shot. To be brutally honest,
that's all, as you know, all those sanctioning bodies are criminally run, and you pay people off. But
we'll use the word allegedly there. I won't want anyone to get sued.
Okay, but
I'm not sure about North American legal status, but I'll hazard a guess.
But the thing is, I always love to look in a fighter's face like Lacey after the first round when his eyes open wide.
Yeah,
and goes,
when they realize that they're in, that's when they
over
realize they're in trouble.
Yeah, big trouble. This guy's not trying to knock me out. He's trying to end my life. And he I mean, that was a one-sided beatdown. And it's Mike said it's such, and Carl, you can appreciate this. This is always in the States. You know, Lennox Lewis has no chance. Well, I had people say to me at the Hall of Fame, Lennox Lewis is chinny. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, let's have it right. I know from the little bit I know about North American relations. I know most American fight fans don't particularly get on well with Canadian fight fans, and they definitely don't get on well with the UK fight fans. So Lennox Lewis had no chance, did he?
Right, and I said Lennox got dropped twice, and he got up, and he beat both those guys. He almost killed Rothman in the second fight. And I said, Tyson got dropped 6-7 times. And he said, well, Lewis shouldn't have got dropped by Oliver McCall. Why not? He's 6'6", 270 or 255. Tyson got dropped by Kevin McBride.
Yeah.
You know, McBride wasn't even a third-rate club fighter. And he dropped Tyson and stopped him. Yep. You know, and Tyson quit against Holyfield in the second fight by biting his ear.
Yeah.
So we know all those things. So
I'm not sure Mike Tyson is a poster boy for American boxing, do you?
No, you're right.
He was at one point, but he is definitely the poster boy for somebody at Brownsville.
I'm not sure.
2 years.
He's definitely the poster boy of somebody that came out of Brownsville, though.
Well, there are a lot of fighters came out of Brownsville. Bummy Davis came out of Brownsville. A lot of great fighters came out of Brownsville back then. You know, especially
you had to survive in Brownsville, man, from day one.
Right,
guys,
but you're talking Tyson. You're not. If you go back to the 20s and 30s and before, you know, I could name you 30 boxers: Benny Leonard, other guys, Al Singer, that became world champions that came out of Brownsville, and it was tougher then. You know, well, maybe it wasn't tougher then, but it was tough at every way for every particular ethnic group. But Lennox held the undisputed. He was the only heavyweight champion in the world for almost 12 years.
I mean, nationality to one side for a minute. The thing I do like about Lennox Lewis is how he holds himself. He's very classy, doesn't get embroiled in stupid arguments when he's at press conferences, even when other fighters try to go with him. Listen, when you know you're the best, you don't need to prove anything to anybody, right? And that's how he carries himself.
Very humble, carries himself like a gentleman. You know,
he said to me every day,
right? Boxing's a gentleman's sport.
Right, and that's what it's supposed to be. And Lennox never went down to their level. He didn't need to. And I'll tell you something else. He's a magnificent chess player. So in the office, friends would come by, and these weren't just ex-boxers, bankers, politicians, lawyer, whoever, and they'd play him chess, and he'd always win. And they would say, I wasn't prepared. He goes, oh, okay, we'll do it again. And he'd play him again. Sorry, I had a headache. Okay, get some aspirin, we'll do it again. He never lost. He just never lost. He was his mind was so far ahead, and he was thinking so many moves ahead. And the kindest person, you know, in Toronto, there's kids at Sick Kids Hospital, and you know, there's one girl who's 14 with terminal cancer, and he just said, text me the address. I'll get my car. I'm on my way. That's the kind of person he was. And what I love about Lennox, there's a lot of things I love about him, but he knows what he means to people. Like Ali did. He knows how important he is to me, you know, to you, Carl, and to everyone in the world. And he's never let the fans down, ever. Right. No trash about him. You know, nothing untoward. No arrests. No run-ins with the law. A gentleman's gentleman. And
when I've been at press conferences and he's been there must be 150 people waiting for selfies with him, and he makes sure every single one of them get the photo. You know, none of this, my cars are due to arrive, so I've got to go, or making some lame excuse. The guy stands here. I've witnessed it myself, and he's took a selfie with every single person. And
that's a true champion outside of the ring as well.
Well, he appreciates it's the fans that make him, right? Without the fans,
Exactly.
he's nothing, like any fighter.
And when I was doing PR for him, we showed up at an event about an hour late, and they got angry. They didn't get angry. The PR guy who I replaced that day, who got fired, said, "I can't believe he's late. How can you allow this?" And I said, "It's called World Champion time." And Lennox said, "I was at the hospital for sick children with cancer patients. What am I going to walk out because I have to be at a boxing gym?" I spent extra time with them. That's what you do. That's my responsibility. And so, that's just the kind of he is. And when I would mention to him things people said on the internet or this or that, don't read it, don't care. Don't care what they say. My name's in the record book, theirs isn't. What they say means nothing. And
what are your thoughts on Clark Wardley? That's still in talks. Fraser Clark wants to destroy him. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I've got on record that I'm not the biggest fan of Fabio Wardley. I don't know why it is.
You just don't like the cut of his jib, eh?
Honestly, I don't know what he keeps proving me wrong because I keep predicting he's going to get knocked out as he goes up and up the levels. But I don't like the way he has to take a big shot before he wakes up during fights because that's not a good habit. It's not a good habit to have in the heavyweight division, right?
No, of course not. Clark's what, 8-0 right now, 6 KOs. He fought 4 times last year. His last 2 were against Allen and Watts.
Yeah, Dave Allen had been out the ring for nearly 2 years, Mike. So can't read too much into that.
Exactly. It's hard to do. It's hard to focus on certain things in that fight because of that so long. But then Wardley is coming off that dominant 7th round win stoppage over Adelaide. Yeah, in October, right? Which is on the Tyson Fury Ngannou card.
Yeah, Adelaide's untested as well, though, Mike. So we don't know how good that win is.
I'll tell you, I'm old enough to remember going to see the comedian Dave Allen in Britain. This goes back 45, 50 years. But wow. I was gonna.
You're not supposed to show your age.
I've seen some Dave Allen stuff. Yeah, I've seen some of that.
I always liked the 2 Ronnies, but I had a question for you, Carl. Were you surprised with O'Hara Davis's knockout?
Yes, although it's not unbeknown for him to get blasted out because Josh Taylor absolutely blasted him out early on in his career. I worry about his art as he got the art for the fight. He talks a good game. I thought it was a strange decision by Golden Boy to sign him. I'm not sure how well that's going to last, that promotional deal.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you think that will last?
No.
I don't think it's going to.
He hasn't really got a status over in America. In North America, would be my understanding. I don't think anyone knows who he is. He just rocked up from London. I think there's hoping they could build him into a marquee name. Yeah. But Oscar De La Hoya is making some very strange decisions at the minute. It was very strange to get rid of Roberto Diaz, who was a long-term matchmaker. And I'm quite friendly with Roberto. And it's a very strange decision because he was a mainstay of that promotional company and very well respected within the game. So Gold straight, and then Oscar De La Hoya comes out and starts criticising the Saudi Arabians for the activity in the boxing game. Why would you do that when you know they're the biggest payers in town at the minute? Why wouldn't you want to align yourself with the Saudi Arabians?
You're shooting yourself in the foot at that point. Like, how
that's what boxing's best at, though. And,
exactly.
And to be frank, we all 3 of us know that, Oscar has had substance abuse problems in the past.
So he might.
Who knows?
Right.
But I agree with both of you. Those comments don't make any sense.
It's hardly a fledgling promotional outfit, is it? Let's be honest. I noticed they do some Thursday night shows I've seen. Not that they get broadcasted in the UK. They do a few DAZN shows, which I've watched a couple, and they're not great. They don't keep me awake. Let's put it that way.
No, they don't. They make kind of lackluster, to be honest.
Well, you look at the roster, very heavily lean towards South Americans, if you're brutally honest. But again, is he building a profile with any of them? I can't name more than 2 or 3 of them who I'd recognise if they jumped into a ring. So, are the Saudis lose any sleep over what De La Hoya is saying? Probably not. They've got Eddie and Frank Warren and Wasserman on board. They've got top. They've got top.
Warren's willing to put down $1 million on the 5 versus 5.
Yeah, I've seen that. I mean, it'll be a great show.
Yeah.
I know Eddie Hearn's very quick to say that he'll be using his worldwide stable, which is an interesting comment to make. But
why? Why is it interesting to you?
Because I'll be brutally honest.
Yeah.
I thought Matchroom are mainly British, Irish fighters.
Yeah.
So from a commercial perspective, I thought they'd match up geographically, because some of his let's just say Matchroom haven't achieved what they wanted to achieve in North America. I'm being very careful here because I do interview Matchroom quite a bit, but I think there's still room for them to grow in North America. Would that be fair? Matchroom USA probably not achieved what it wanted to achieve.
No, but they have made some moves in California as of late. I did do an interview a little while back, and I know that they've now affiliated with a couple of gyms in California.
Yeah, I've seen that. I guess what I'm saying, Mike, is if I'm watching, if talking about UK audience for a minute, if I'm watching a Matchroom versus Queensbury 5 versus 5, do I really want to see young British fighters jumping in with North American fighters that I don't know?
No, it doesn't make for good programming.
No, but then again, Americans feel the same way when they see British fighters coming over. But being in Canada, we're in the middle of that, so we're familiar
with both.
With both, right? But you're right. The thing that I didn't like about Eddie Hearn, and this is one thing that interests me about when any of us make comments online on Facebook or any app. And, I've had actually people say to me about the Toronto Raptors basketball, if you weren't so rude, maybe they do better, as if they actually know me and really care what I have to say. So with Eddie Hearn, when he's in the United States, he would go to other promoters' cards, which is not uncommon, but he would go into the dressing room and he would talk to other promoters' fighters. And I learned a long time ago, you just don't do that. And that's just a no-no. People get hurt doing that. It's just something you don't do. But he didn't sort of have, I don't know if respect's the word, because I don't know if there's any promoters anywhere that you can respect. But
it's an unspoken rule.
It's an unspoken rule, and he sort of paid a price for that. When a lot of guys,
but so is not dating your fighters, right?
Right, but Bob Arum going out with George Foreman is something we won't talk about. But Bob Arum's been around. He's in his 90s, and I've met Bob Arum, and he's not a guy who wants to share.
The interesting debate in the UK at the minute, Louis, is whether Frank Warren is making ground on Eddie Hearn in terms of a promotional company, which I have to say, probably looking back on 2023, probably is.
What company is that, Carl?
Queensbury Matchroom. So from a boxing landscape position.
How about Boxer?
I think Boxer's on borrowed time a little bit. They've invested heavily in the cruiserweight division, which is probably commercially the poorest division in boxing.
Right. Because I know they were doing stuff with Dimitri Salita.
So if I said to you, Ryatpour, Dan Aziz, bouts, they're not household names really, are they, worldwide? And he's invested a lot of money and put them on big contracts.
Yeah.
That was the problem with PBC and Al Heyman. Everyone wanted Floyd Mayweather money. You can't have that. So they overpaid, and nothing is going on. They signed with, I think, Amazon, but Amazon's letting them know that we're not paying what you paid. That's not going to happen. We're going to give you a broadcast fee to air it, but we're not paying the fighters that.
What's interesting is Top Rank supplies so many cards a year to Sky Sports. over in the UK, which is aligned with Boxer.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering whether Top Rank might make some moves to get more dates out of Sky Sports, and maybe Boxer lose out a little bit, because over in the UK fight fans, when they come on to Last World Boxing, they're not overly impressed with Ben Shalom or with the Boxer quality of card.
Now, are they not impressed with the fight card itself, or is it more of the production value?
No, it's more the fight cards, Mike, because they've gone in heavily. Like, for example, Liam Smith. You know, Liam Smith's on a big contract, just been beat by Eubank Jr.
Yeah,
Eubank Jr. won't jump back in with Liam Smith, no chance. So where's that leave Liam Smith?
Exactly.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm not a big fan of Don King, because he came from the Cleveland Mafia, but his undercards in the 70s were phenomenal. You'd go see a fight, and the undercards, looking back now, were all future world champions.
Mm.
And they were great fighters. You got your money's worth.
Although, Lou, when he put Trevor Bryant on against Daniel Dubois in a leisure centre in Miami somewhere, that was an absolute dreadful production.
Oh, I agree. He's nothing now. And
No.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact that he even signed Adrian Broder, who should be in prison rather than a ring, who's got nothing left. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just grasping at straws at this point. He's got no more power in the game. And yeah, he did put on farces. The ABC heavyweight tournament in the 70s, where it came out in court that he paid Ring Magazine to list these guys. And you know how that works. You probably read, Carl, about that woman who died in Montreal last year, Jeanette Zacharias.
Yeah.
He was 18. And so the Yvonne Michelle group, who I've worked with when I worked for Lennox, their matchmakers said we had no idea that she'd been knocked out in previous matches. And I just said to them, that can't be possible, because I knew this before the fight.
That's one thing, Lou, that I'll defend the British Boxing Board of Control for. I think we may have the best medical screening before, during, and after fights in the world, to be honest with you.
Definitely the medical board does their due diligence in their research into what's going on. They are in tune with what's going on.
And they always have been. And the thing about Zacharias was they said, well, we didn't have her medical records. That's not true. They had it. Then they said, well, the person read it and there was nothing wrong. And a doctor in a hospital in Montreal said she had a brain bleed from her previous fight. But the person you had read it was one of your matchmakers. Unless he's a neurologist, the language will mean nothing to him.
We're not qualified, is it?
No. And so she was allowed in. She was booked by her husband. She was 18. She just felt like boxing. No experience, no amateur pedigree, was knocked cold in like 3 of her previous 4 fights. So, and this is the great thing about in Britain, you're not going to get away with that.
No.
And see, it's things like this that is going to allow Saudi Arabia to take over, man. Certain things like that. What we're getting to the end here. Last thoughts. What do you think we need to do to stop that from happening?
I don't think you can.
You don't think?
I just think the finances are too strong, and by far outweigh anything Vegas can do, anything London can do. So I'm not sure there's an answer to that, to be honest with you, Mike.
You know what? I agree with Carl. I asked when I interviewed a friend of mine, Bill Detloff and Nigel Collins, there's been organized crime, let's say in boxing, for 300 years. How can you get rid of it? And they said, after 300 years, you can't. It's part of the sport. It just always has been and always will. And the same with what Carl said about, that. It's just, it's been entrenched for so long. There's a list of fighters. Ernie Schaff, who shouldn't have fought Primo Carnera, but he died, and he had spinal meningitis, which they wouldn't have known until after. But he had 104-degree temperature. But the doctors cleared him. Benny Kid Pret, after getting knocked down 6 times by Gene Fulmer, was cleared to fight Emil Griffith in his next fight and then died after. So this is part and parcel of boxing. It shouldn't happen. The interesting thing is the stoppage by Tony Weeks, and he said this guy had an aneurysm. So that cast a lot of shadow on Golden Boy. How did a guy with an aneurysm even get a license? If he did,
Right.
and if he did or didn't, how did the referee know? And if the referee knew, why didn't he refuse to referee the fight to begin with?
There is a couple of things the Saudis need to concentrate on, and one's atmosphere on fight night.
Yeah.
Because I'm being reliably informed that it's they use the word unique atmosphere where there's only a bit of noise when a punch gets landed. And also the stadia, they keep building stadiums, but then there's only about 6,000-7,000 people at a unified world title fight. Well, that needs addressing as well. I'm not sure how you resolve that.
But the seats that you're buying, those 5,000 seats are, $10, $20, $30,000 a piece.
Yeah.
That's, when you're talking about a city like, in a country like that that's just got mega amounts of money and can build whatever infrastructure they want to.
One thing I would say, Mark, the time zone works a lot better for me than it does in Vegas. Silver lining.
Yeah,
Listen,
it does.
When the Mafia took over boxing in 1921, and they promoted so many fights and it hurt the sport, no one else could get in because no one had the disposable income they had, thanks to prohibition. They have billions of dollars. And same with the Saudis. Money to them is nothing, But
where else are you going to find abandoned Lamborghinis on the side of the road?
Right. And who's going to be able to match them? It will have to come down. It's money, and asses in the seats. But if they can actually make good fights, and they have to show they can do that still.
Yeah.
Consistent.
Well, guys, it's an hour. I guess we're gonna cut out. We're gonna let all these fans get back to it. I'm looking forward to these fights tomorrow. We're gonna be on me and Lou. We're gonna talk about the fights tomorrow after the fights. It's gonna be great. So all the fans out there can come and join us for a new show here on Talking Fight. Carl, thanks again for coming on, man. Always a pleasure to have you on.
Great to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you, Lou.
Love to hear your insights.
Yes, Last Bell Boxing, guys. Check them out Thursdays. Great show. Tune in. Say your 2 cents. They're always answering the comments. Carl, always a pleasure, brother. Lou, always a pleasure. To all the fight fans around the world, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Friday Night Panel. We are back. It's 2024. New year, new fights. You know what it is.
New year.
We'll see you next week.
Yes, happy
same time, same channel. Peace.
Peace.